It ain't that for the little garden for the lotus and never how to be everlasting garden grows. If this is a cut of love, it ain't perfect for the tidy your need for each moment. You can be to make it so complete. The holding your hand for the let's stay the way for this way to bring it. What you mean for the what you got to say for this is asking myself if it became with the spin in the morning. Stretched out for the abyss of the sky for the cannot see for the you can call my name now for the wind that blew it away for the river for the sea that's like in the mark. For the hands cannot be tied for the flame for the frame for the this who work. For Ghana just a moon, for the dimension for the clues. For this light not to see for the warmth and the return for the calling out for the glass and there for the candles of the sea. Empowered by the tourists, this is finding wishes, which is for the fortress from the falling around your ears, and this is ever across the sky for the child of the maiden, find the fruit for the soul that whistles, stand and whistle over the way that when they get flame won't whip up to the again and touch your heart. Which did it departed for the name for the cannot be for the touch of the ear for the just to the here to find the surrender over the further into the nature for the you can go the way for the voyage, it is unheard for the hindrance for the uncertainty for the certainty for the unity. What shall happen for the repetition for the respite? Respite over the call for the over the mountain, find who needs to the sea for the sea for the suffer for the leaping and up for your matter. The matter over until we go for the faith of the beyond for the love oneself for the belief. For the old me, hate to really become for the analyzing the scum for this to be discreet. Whatever you know now for the name for this type of this, you can say for the turning the wild for this to be the only way to have the ability to spell, the able to spell with it before you can tell the pieces. This is the final piece, but the pieces about together, but getting what it is to say. It needs to spell, the fun, the future with me for the down to the reds, whatever the act for the time. So this is realization for the question for you. Are you out of your mind? The biggest question. Where you at the what you mean? Assuming with the growth of defining the freighter over the making you set. This is the sitting over yourself in the misery for the escape of the nonsense, and this is not you. Create that. Who is the warrior to stand against the current? Most die many times. They're good for the deeds, and this cannot come up with the life for this to be the death of the labor for the self-infliction for your concern. And the reality for the enemy to his ability, for the erasing them for the secrets to the behind and hit. This is the greatest the pain for the expensive for your own. For the resentment for the self-inflicted, over you have it defined. Over your crack again for the talking of the accountability, for the destroying of itself, for the never the slowly, but surely. I know. Another other hint for this to be mentioned, for the reach, you do not feel me, for the never to know me like this, for the you can see me now, for the ocean between us and never to put it up there. Maybe me for the maybe you for the over him, for the him over there making it even special enough for the necessarily care. Or did you seek it in your eyes or the drowning of the breath? This is only sometimes to remind me of you. The air to despair with the peace and the only passion for the decision to bring your rage, or the quiet, the different roots with the ocean air for the cannot look the same. The feeling is mine, but having more days than the bad now. If for the keep of the moving forward for the one step at a time. What you have and never lifted just a joy for the fountain meant to be something for the here right now, for the laughing, with the worry and the laugh, and the worry to cry for the worthless and the breathing of the center for the disability not to think about. And I'm holding on so tight for this let go. Should I be holding on or should I let go? But I'm thinking of reminding of the path of the redemption for this to be the head and over the rotation of the location of your fence. But the inevitable for the hope and some of the resemblance for the emblem for the seldom for the random proof for this to be the haste. Taste around and find it goes around your jaw, catching lightly over your softly without a transparent face. But here the effort for the uncoupling of the spell for the you nailed and never the what did you spell with the perfect imperfection for the shadow the glass through for the couldn't see you clearly over the shimmering justice for the you know yourself for this the same piece. You couldn't soften your edges for the beautiful work and you can have the missing pieces for the grave of the maybe others and never the vanishing of it because it's used the same found. This is what the wound born is serving for the simply change the day for the thing that we keep. And everything, but nobody seems to ramble and nobody seems to quite hold the peak to see the peak the perspective for this flame. Explain the rain for the never the pain for this to be the symbol of days according to what you call the metaphor or according to play the cinematic for the quiet to put yourself in the thought for the life for the word for the thing gotta do for the maybe the symbol the simulation of the really you find a burden upon the people that you can love for the habit the disappointment for the great for the shame for the name for the this will be the variant for the significance and the person wanting for the significant in your life at the expectation the feeling the same. Or not the overtime for the perfusing that we need the brain. How matters to matter, the matter for the matter, brain over the matter for the mind of the heart. But hoping to find something tragic for the memorial sounds familiar for this to be the chant. Enhance your frame. When the mind trick the bodies think the mind's crazy, find this or the other, find blazing this and not stagnant either for the nature's gift for this breeds the present for the seeping of this through the soil. When I ask you not to remain here for the far grounded into the beautiful life that you can call given by the God. I see.
Reflection has me second guessing over your complexion, over your infections, over the changes and intentions in the body, and smile for the impressive, for the way the opposites are. And the sparks of the portals, the angels question you, girls. With the wings and a hang on, still with the pale reflectance in your steel. We're agents of the sublime, immersed in the industrial. Broader for the compass, taller than over your comma for the indicted, for the bliss of this, sliding towards the moon, for the life thins out, for the inoculation over the against the thrust, over your burden, over the masquerade, for the forward over your driven field. Congratulations are you in a real furnishing over the miss antipathy for the just to be glass cages over your lantern pits over your delicious mind for the gather for the friday over the fireflies of the tundra over your wonder with the resin over the distant present over your tense sails and against the grand noise of this and lonely quarter for the only this house echoing at the door. What is it about? The silence that learns to speak enough.
It ain't half a little guard for the lowest, and never have to be everlasting guard rolls.
Reflection.
Reflection has me second guessing over your complexion, over your infections, over the changes and intentions in the body, and smile for the impressive, for the way the opposites are. And the sparks of the portals, the angels question you, girls. With the wings and a hang on, still with the pale reflectance in your steel. We're agents of the sublime, immersed in the industrial. Broader for the compass, taller than over your comma for the indicted, for the bliss of this, sliding towards the moon, for the life thins out, for the inoculation over the against the thrust, over your burden, over the masquerade, for the forward over your driven field. Congratulations are you in a real furnishing over the miss antipathy for the just to be glass cages over your lantern pits over your delicious mind for the gather for the friday with the fireflies and the tundra over your wonder with the resin over the distant present over your tense sails and against the grand noise of this and lonely quarter for the only this house echoing at the door. What is it about? The silence that learns to speak, enough to warn the whole for the stitches together for the moments. You are a God that you can see to listen to it all, for the you used to seeing to do is too, for the weight, the strength of the one man sin from another. You know, this manageable for the crossing the line, for the line you drew, for this the world of the sinners and judging the sinners for the sinning and different. Silence learned to speak, there was the beginning that was quiet. Bare minute for the line you do nothing for the some have, somebody for the who's begging me to be everything. Divulge to the folding of the tapestry for this is so set forth and just right for like the shadows are covering your tables and they're resting upon the inner being. Never again trusted this situation with the built situated for the dime in the dark for this waiting for the consuming of everything that we know for the believing the true rock find the flavor for the feast. And we drive into the never knowing that we could be consumed by the fear in the house. Love in the state of division over your black and union for the hat. Graveyard to wait for the stage and the ending of it. And this would be the ash and bone. Or a new year for the new dude for the guests. You gotta go with the show off for the going off for the life and solo for the exploding of it yourself for like a ham in the planet for this some equip. More from the fact not at all. Do they follow for the program with the grip? With the promotion and with the not at all for the recycle the appropriate belts, just find an unpale for the face, for the edge light for the realm, for the dream, for the winding up there for the loss of the eye. I can ask again for the matters of the orbs. Or the orbits of the gravity large enough to cut the deuce and monks. He heaps it down for the fire down in your brain for this the pencil at yourself for the thing that had integrity for it. Sure, for you can find it was the longest and if I to see the pretty far for this to be the pretty month for this the opposite of how to find it feeling good now. He slowly made his way back to the surface of the jungle for the monks that the people for the surrounded by the kind for the biggest mistake for this to ever made for this to have been for the mentioning of who's gonna be the space between us and this is the grand gesture for the way you look at me to put your eyes at me, this light of the world. Chase for someone who will never be yours, the girl of your dreams sat right in front of me for the several years you could find it although too close this felt like it was miles away from me for the single day for the years and never detachment. More harsh than she was inviting me for the loving arms of the after the weeks of the happiness is stabbing over the knife that you can find the body in the moving over this life, this let go for the spending time, for the begging, for the people who will love you more for the who can find that over they're looking for this to be the sermon with the downbeat for the eternity, for the spoken with the web, for this altar beneath the conclusion and congregation, for the marble over the rememberings of the endings, and over the scene of finding carve and the silence and the conducting over the rehearsal of the living. And out of I arrive for the stone to learn to pray, for this is crowned by the thunder from the we are the law, or the firmament of the taught, for this is up, or the matter for the final measure, for the kingdom conclusion, for the downbeat, for the cosmos cannot dodge. And here the others of the masquerade, for the makeup for the god of bro, or the costume for the overdriven, over the clipping of the youth, truth. Selling mercy like the merch at the exit, for they can call the fragile to justify the cage. This is broken into the saving, self-salvation, sell the salvation for your despised that lie. You were not proportioning, you were not percussion, over the bone for the rhythm, for the just against the void. The pulse, so this is the species for the inventing of the tenderness and the atrocity for the with the same hands so you could choose it every veer over the choice. And I watched her stagger through the 7-day over the day for the depths, this like measure for the waiting the bridge and never resolve. I've seen you bloom in the pianos of the courage and disappearing. I find that this is not fraud, it's more for the fear, for the still you rise and always rise. And you can find the preaching of the distance down your throats with the tongues and the howling of venomous of the deathly heart. Theatrical for the living, the better for the chorus. And the chorus is just written for you, for the fuse to hook this to tell you who you are, for the rewrite the frame, for the world tells you you were small, for the answer the key chain. Or do not want your worship with the wonder to becoming, for the dangerous with the compassion, the accurate with the love. Brave enough to outgrow your cage of the teals, teach the endings and never to stop the mistaking of your noise for the meaning, and yet one cadence and I cannot close. And one cadence and I cannot close. This one reflection has me second guessing over your complexion, over your infections, over the changes and intentions in the body, and smile for the impressive of the way the opposites are. And the sparks of the portals, the angels question you of girls, with the wings and a hang on, still with the pale reflectance in your steel. We're agents of the sublime immersed in the industrial. Broader for the comps, taller than over your comma for the indicted for the bliss of this is sliding towards the moon for the life thins out for over the inoculation over the against the thrust over your burden over the masquerade for the forward over your driven field. Congratulations are you in a real furnishing over the miss antipathy for the just to be glass cages over your lantern pits over your delicious mind for the gather for the fragile the fireflies and the tundra over your wonder of the resin over the distant present over your tense cells against the grand noise of this lonely quarter for the only this house echoing at the door. What is it about? The silence that learns to speak enough to born the whole for the stitches together for the moments. You are a guy for that you can see to listen to it all for the you used to seeing to do is too for the weight the strength of the one man sin from another. This manageable for the crossing the line, for the mean the line you drew, for this the world of the sinners and judging the sinners for the sinning and different. Where silence learned to speak, there was the beginning that was quiet. Bare minute for the line you to do nothing for the somehow, for the somebody for the who's begging to me to be everything. Divulge to the folding of the tapestry, for this is so set forth and just right, for like the shadows of covering your tables with their resting upon the inner being. Never again trusted this situation with the built situated for the dime in the dark for this waiting for the consuming of everything that we know for the believing the true I find the flavor of the feast. And we dive into the never knowing we could be consumed by the fear in the house. And love in the state of division over your black and unit for that graveyard away for the stage and the ending and but just to be the ash and bone. Or a new year for the new do for the guests. You gotta go with the show off for the going off for the life and solo for the exploding of yourself for like a hymn of the planet for this something quit. And more from the fact not at all. They follow for the program but the promotion over the not at all for the recycle of the appropriate belts just to find unpaired for the maze. The dash light for the realm for the dream for the winding up there for the loss of the hand. I can ask again for the matters of the orbs. Water orbits of the gravity large enough to cut the deuce and longs. He heaps it down for the pharaoh down in your brain for this the pencil at yourself for the thing that had to take let's go back to the surface of the jungle for the monk that the people who were surrounded by the mind. The biggest mistake that this ever made for this ever mentioned no limits or this food between us and this most of the way to look at the eyes dreams that were in front of me from this
Matter than I arrive at the strong to learn to pray for this. Surrounded by the thunder of the people of the law. Filling with the talk for this society. Matter for the final measure for the kingdom conclusion for the downbeat for the cosmos came out down. The others of the masquerade for the makeup for the costume for the overdriven over the critic of the so the mercy like the large up the exit while the fragile to justify the cage of disability to the saving the self-salvation. Soul salvation for the inspired to love. Not the horse name, you but not the percussion. Bone with the rhythm for the disc against the floor. Close to the species for the different atrocity for the rhythm, same dancing, and choose the different watch your staggering dreams. Leave in the depths, this like measure.